Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. Well, let's take a look, first of all, on how we're doing. Haven't calibrated yet. It's still a little early to calibrate for the whole day. I could, but we'll wait for a bit. I'm currently 7.5, and I have a little bit of insulin still active, but that's probably from my correction. As you can see, all these little blue lines, that is my correction. The little insulin bottles is when I gave insulin. Down here is my blood sugars for pretty much the last 24 hours. Or actually, it's longer. Can I scroll? It's not allowing me to scroll back and forth. But this is seen in graph form. Now, if I want to know where I was, I just kind of touch it. I was 5'2" at 1:45 yesterday. Pretty good. Now, I'll just give it a moment here. There we go. 96% time in range. Pretty good day. Still 4 above. Last night I shot up just before bed. 96% time in range. Awesome. These are sort of the wins that we celebrate. Life can look very bleak if you don't pick out something that you've done well that day. And trust me, even the worst diabetics have wins that should be looked at and celebrated. That doesn't mean you go get drunk. That doesn't mean that you go out and have a big party. It just kind of shows that you beat diabetes for another day. Average sugar is 7.8, which is awesome. So there we go. Looking all good. Oh, it took an awful lot of time. Today's video, we're going to discuss what do real diabetics do. Stay tuned. This channel is provided for informational purposes only. Contact your physician for any diagnostic or treatment plan. So often, I've heard, well, there's the clinical diabetic, but when you get home, you can learn to do everything differently. It'll be so much easier. I was once that diabetic. You still are using alcohol. Oh, you're still, how you can use the syringes 4 or 5 times. Ah, yeah. You can reuse your pumped things. And you're just opening yourself up for infections. And I've had my fair share. So anything you learn, you have to take with a grain of salt when you're a new diabetic. People are going to say, oh, you don't need to do that after you've just been trained. Try to stay and learn what you've been taught. It's really not that difficult once you get into a routine. That is what true diabetics do, or real diabetics, I called this. So that's what real diabetics do. If you run out of alcohol one day, okay, but not a recurring thing. Always test, eat right, and so on and so on. As a new diabetic, it can be overwhelming, and everyone goes out there looking for a quick fix. The quick fix will never come. I'll tell you straight out now. You need to be aware that people who say, oh no, you don't have to do that, this is the quick way. We're all diabetics who don't really follow their blood sugars. Let's just say it that way. And because of that, they've had to come up with hacks to cover things. People who have forgotten needles and syringes, I should say, lancets. You know, there's just so much. And you will learn some of your own as you go on, but don't go searching them out. Now, I've heard people say that they can modify the pump. I've heard people say that they can take their, I use the Mio for my site changes, putting it on, and they're saying, you don't need to do it. There's a better way of doing that. You don't need to have an inserter. Well, with the Mio, you didn't need an inserter. So, what do we need to do? Well, be open to the information given to you by your provider, whether it be the Lancet company, whether it be your pump supply company, your type of glucometer. As you move along, real diabetics read, and you may not be a reader, and it may seem like it's a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo. When I first got my pump, they handed me the book, and it was like this thick, and I'm not gonna read that. I ran into a few problems with my first pump. And I've read things, and we've learned, and we've grown from there. Keeping your blood sugars under control should always be the key. But don't just go out hacking, especially if you have a pump. I don't care if it's this pump. I don't care if it's the Omnipod, or I believe there's one out called the Tandem pump. If you start fiddling around with those, you're going to lose the warranty off of them. And if they break, the company's not going to honor them. Because Medtronic, and I can only speak for Medtronic, I don't know about Omnipod or Tandem. If this breaks within the 4 year, I think it's 4 years of warranty, they'll ship you out a new one. When I was last in the hospital, the doctor said, "Oh, your pump's not working." So I called and I said, "They say the pump's not working." So I sent back my old pump, and they got me this one. There was nothing wrong with the pump. It was the patient. If I go into DKA, they're going to bring me out of DKA, and chances are I'm going to go back into DKA. It's just something I do. It's an unexplainable part of my diabetes. So learn about your support, your insulin pump, the type of syringes or pens you use. There's always information. You should read and know how to properly utilize your needle and your pump. And when you hear someone say, "Oh, well, yeah, I just do this and it works fine and it's quicker," look at it, read your material. If it doesn't say anything about it, chances are it's not totally approved. Check it out with your doctor or your nurse, your diabetic nurse, and find out what the true scoop on it. You should be able to ask your diabetic doctor and your nurse anything about diabetes. When actually I went to get the precursor to this pump, at the time they were like armbands. This is a brace for carpal tunnel. It's not the armband. That said, "Oh, we'll put your pressure points and it will cure diabetes." No. But I asked. They probably heard a lot more. Another little thing. I thought I could save time in having a transmitter to go with my pump. I got a new transmitter with my new pump. And when we I thought, well, yeah, I could have that one charged. Click it over, and it'll save me that half an hour of charge time every time we change our pumps. But you know what? That probably takes twice as long because you have to repair your pump and your transmitter each time. And it really gets to be a pain. So keep your old transmitter by far. When you get a new pump, you utilize the new transmitter. This is my third pump that looks like this. The first one was, I believe, a 670, which had a completely different transmitter. I still have that transmitter. Won't work with this now. But I feel someday I'll find another Diabetic. I probably won't. But because of my labile diabetes, I keep everything close. When moving out of my apartment into this facility, it was open to a lot of stuff I had. I had a few glucometers. I had boxes of pump supplies, we'll just call them. And the reason why was I would have this stuff to be used as needed. Now I'm able to get stuff in here. So my hoarding days is still around a bit, but the good rule of thumb, if you're putting together, we'll call it a crash bag, and a crash bag is not only for lows, but if you're on a pump, whenever you go out traveling, you want to make sure in it you have your pump supplies so that if you have to do a quick change, you can do a quick change. You know, you're racing to get somewhere and inevitably you'll pull this out. Renal diabetics are prepared. It's worth, when I go to the store, I take my crash bag. When I'm here, going to a different part of this facility, I don't need to take my crash bag. If I go out, go to the store, then I need to take my crash bag. Keeping your supplies available is the best bet. And go through it often and make sure that you're up to date with your supplies. It is the best. It is the easiest. So often doing that has saved me. That's the sort of thing real diabetics do. I used to think that going to a drugstore and buying my supplies as needed was great. And then I got sick and I ran out of something. It was a pain to get it to me. And you expect everyone to just go race around to get you the stuff. My family, the drugstores. When if I had just bought it, had it. Now I don't mean go overwhelmed. I gotta admit, maybe some of the pump supplies it was a bit overwhelmed, but you're able to utilize your stuff. That's the important thing. Diabetics are always prepared. We sound like a Boy Scout, but we have to be, especially those like me who are labile. You want to ensure you are prepared. Keep things at a bare minimum. In a past video, I described now how something I've learned when I was in the retail job, I utilized for my own supplies, and it has kept me with the amount of supplies that I need on a day-to-day basis. You know, thinking back over my time, how kind of stupid I was. And before pumps came along and diabetics now are more responsible for their care. Back in the day, it was you went, you saw the doctor, he gave you the changes you made, you went and you did that till the next time. And that coming back to where now we take control was a little bit of a rough journey, because I think my rebellion in life, growing up as a young man, really has changed to where the way I think now. We can all say that. We've all changed. And my outlook on my diabetes is great. Even on the worst days when I'm close to DKA and, throwing up, I don't feel like diabetes is beating me. It's diabetes is giving a good solid punch, but it's not beating me yet. And as soon as I can get more insulin into me, the better. I've rambled on for a bit today, but keeping your blood sugars under control is the key. But do it the right way. Don't go off and do a whole bunch of other things just because you've heard it. Check it out. Know what you're utilizing. Know how your pump works. And with that, have a super day, and we'll talk later. Bye now. My email is mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com. mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com.